Guys, Space Panther here. I know it's been a while since I've made a video. During the election, I definitely had strong views, pretty much the same views Mango had, but I'm just a little bit more of a sensitive person than he is, and I have an issue with all of the criticism and the attacks that are made on me by people who don't share my beliefs. So it's not that I don't want to engage. Like, I definitely, more than anything else, want open and honest dialogue. We should all be having conversations. That's the problem, is we're not. But it's just the personal attacks, from family and friends are kind of hard for me. So I stayed quiet, but I'm going to be quiet no more. And this is part of, my personal shifts for 2017 is really finding my voice and speaking the truth, even if it makes people upset. Because the truth needs to be spoken. There is so much blabbering all over the place, and that's not actually saying anything. So I guess that's just my priorities now are really more getting the information out there that needs to get out there so that we can create the world that we really want to live in. So the Women's March was this last weekend. It's really incredible. I'm sure you all saw, all these major cities all over the U.S., all over the world even. I think they're saying over 3 million women, not just women, people, men also who support them, who support this movement. Just going to get some more light in here. As a cloud went behind the sun. Yeah, so it was huge. And, right after the election, I saw something on Facebook, an invitation to the Women's March in LA. We're right here in Long Beach on January 21st, so it was about, 2 months after the election. And yeah, it's just really incredible how technology has really allowed us to be able to connect and mobilize in such a short span of time. It's like, I know marches and protests happened long, before the internet, but now with the internet, it's so easy to connect with like-minded people and to mobilize for causes that we believe in. So I think this is a really incredible example of that, of just the ability to connect and mobilize with like-minded individuals is really powerful. Also, a lot of the women involved in the Women's March were, liberals or Democrats, and some people call it an anti-Trump march. I guess the idea is that Trump is against women, and so this march is against Trump, or Trump is against equality, so they're marching against him. Depending on who you ask, some people called it an anti-Trump march or a women's rights march. It's just really nice, I guess, to see liberals being passionate about something again. It's like during the Bush years, the left was very outspoken about the war crimes of Bush because they were horrible and we should be outspoken against them. But then it's like Obama got into office and it's almost like the whole left just kind of went to sleep. And, it's like maybe part of that is the media, like the media is the liberal media, and so they weren't really reporting on the war crimes of the Obama administration as much as they were the Bush administration. So it's easy to ignore. Maybe also it's kind of a pride thing, it's like I voted him into office, I'm a liberal, he's a liberal, so it's okay, like he's on my side, like that might have been a part of it too. But Obama definitely has been the Obama administration has been the most war-prone administration. We've been at war all 8 years of Obama's presidency, longer than any other president in U.S. history. The Obama presidency has been at war the most. I think it's something like a bomb was dropped every 25 hours during Obama's time, 8 years in office. It was 8 years there. It's insane. And you didn't really see anything from the left. You didn't see this public outcry, like you did during the Bush years. And so I guess what I'm saying is it's nice to see the left passionate again, and mobilized. And because it seemed like, all the injustices against humanity just kind of, it seemed like everyone just went to sleep because of, Obama's president and we're in good hands. So that is another positive thing, just to see people, no matter the topic, it's always good to see people out there speaking about what they believe in, like having a voice. Like that's one of the great things about living in the country we live in, is that we're able to, dissent against the government, against the administration. And so it's really great to see people actually using that voice. So I really have nothing negative to say about the Women's March. I think the intentions are really positive. I think, again, it's great to see people mobilizing, and it's incredible, it's incredible to see, in this age. The issue I really want to get to is why I didn't feel the need to be a part of the Women's March. When you ask the women at the Women's March what it is they're marching for, sorry, that's my dog. He makes this sound when he's eating. When you ask women what it is, what they want, and it's equality. They want equality for men. But it's like this sort of march, it's almost like these marches are directed at the government. Like they want some sort of laws to be in place that assure equality. I don't feel like I'm unequal. I mean, in a way, we'll never be equal because men and women have different skills. They're different, but they're complementary. They're equal in terms of their value. I guess I should say that. But we're never going to be exactly equal because we're different. But the thing is like we should be equally respected and equally valued. And on a personal level, I feel like I am. I feel like in my relationship with Mango, I feel like in my work life, my professional life, I feel like I am. I am valued and respected. And I don't feel like I'm being taken advantage of by the patriarch. And I guess that's really the crux of what I kind of don't get about the Women's March is a lot of it is this, a lot of it is this, like they're fighting the patriarch, like this idea that the patriarch has been so oppressive. And so when you actually look at what issues, like for the Women's March, what issues are you talking about? And they're usually talking about unlimited access to, no restrictions on abortions, unlimited access to abortions. And the fear is that because Trump appoints a pro-life justice to the Supreme Court, something could happen, some case, it could be before the court, it could be overturned, which would mean it goes back to the states. But I guess it's like, I don't see that as being a big problem. I mean, a lot of these women, again, are very liberal. They're in liberal places, Washington, Oregon, California, New York. All of these places share these same values, these states. If abortion laws went back to the states, I can tell you 100%, all 4 of those states I just named, you're not going to have any abortion restrictions. You can have access to abortion in the 3rd trimester, or if the kid has disabilities, or whatever it is, whatever these restrictions are, you're not going to be having them in these liberal places. And that's why small government is better, or no government really, because it's a reflection of what you want. And so just from the other perspective, the more conservative states, kind of middle of America, where people don't actually share these same values. Like I think a lot of liberal women don't realize not all women are supportive of abortions. Like personally, I'm an anarchist. I don't think there should be any restrictions on anyone ever by an external force. But I think it's also important to recognize the conservative side, which is that we are talking about killing babies here. And so to understand why men and women too, there's millions of women who are pro-life, because they come from, they're religious, they're Christian or Mormon. I guess that's kind of the same thing. Or they come from more conservative areas, or they were raised with those values that all life is valuable, regardless of what stage it's at. So I think it's just, if Roe v. Wade were to be overturned, it becomes a state thing, that's not a bad thing. And I know women and feminists like to say, like, well, what about, there's the young woman, 18-year-old woman who accidentally gets pregnant, or, she's raped and she lives in Louisiana and all the abortion clinics have been banned, so she has to take a 10-hour bus ride to Mississippi, and she has to sleep on the streets overnight, and all in order to get this abortion, and then she has to take time off work, so she loses her job, and there's this whole sob story about the poor disenfranchised woman who can't get her abortion. But I think it's also equally important, like, what about the other side? What about the thousands or millions of women who've had abortions who later come to regret it? There's this rock garden at my grandma's church in Arizona, and it's a garden for unborn babies, and you can buy a stone and write a little message on there. And every time I go in there, I cry, because so many of them are, some of them are miscarriages, or the child, something, miscarriage. It's all miscarriages or abortions, pretty much, or stillborns. And just, you know, like, I'm so sorry. You know, hopefully we can be, please forgive me. Hopefully we can be reunited again someday. I didn't know what I was doing. You know, there's, for every woman who struggles so hard to get an abortion, there's a woman who is having to live with, you know, that regret her whole life, you know, having to live with that decision. How many women have abortions and then when they're ready to start a family, they can't, you know, depending on how the abortion's done, it can affect your chances of future fertility. So I didn't really want to go into a whole abortion thing here. I guess it's just important to recognize there's two sides to everything, and that, like, your side's not always right. Again, like, the viewpoint I take, I am not for abortion restrictions. I think it should be, I'm freedom of the individual. Everyone should be able to do what they want to their bodies. But I think it's also important to recognize that we don't need the state to come in and make these sorts of rules. You know, and this applies to everything. So the Women's March, it's they want no restrictions on abortions. They want the government to pay for their health care. That was the big thing, right? The ACA, you got free IUDs, and now women aren't going to get free IUDs anymore. It's like I could really go into a lot of detail on, like, specifically, you know, it's also like the pay gap, which is really, you know, non-existent. The 70 cents to the dollar is a very flawed statistic. Maternity leave, you know, these are all the women's issues that women are protesting for, but this really brings me to the main point of why I don't think protesting is a good way to deal with this, because this idea is that women are protesting the feminists, they're protesting the patriarch, and Donald Trump represents the patriarch. But the thing is, it's not just Donald Trump, it's government. Government is the patriarch. The government enforces its will through coercion and force, and the patriarch enforces its will through coercion and force. The government is the patriarch. If you understand the energetic elements of what energetically is the patriarch, that is the structure of government, of control. So the idea that you would fight the patriarch by trying to negotiate with the patriarch, it's like, oh, don't oppress us, please, give us more rights, like, give us a little bit more, we want this, we want this. Like, if you really wanted to say goodbye, be done with the patriarch, you would just do it. You wouldn't need to, like, oh, petition for these extra steps, we need this, we need this. You would just turn away, you would just not be a part of it. You don't need, like, even the term reproductive rights, like, you do not need the government to give you reproductive rights. You have reproductive rights as a woman because you have a reproductive system. Your reproductive rights are your birthrights, your human rights, your equal rights. These are your birthrights. You have these because you're a human. And this is the biggest thing I'd like women and men, you know, everyone to understand, is that we don't need to be begging the government for permission for things. We don't need to be asking them to implement these rules so that we're more comfortable. We need to learn how to do things for ourselves, and that's the only way that we're ever really going to have, you know, an open and free society. That's the only way that we're ever really going to have this utopian world that is our birthright. You know, it's been hijacked. The government, the patriarchy, they've hijacked our world, our beautiful world we could be living in. And so to think that we're going to sit there and negotiate with them, I am not going to negotiate with them. Do not negotiate with terrorists. But really, like it's just do it, you know? And so, for example, like, even, you know, the idea of being sexually harassed in the workplace, sexual harassment, and, like, laws regarding that, like, yeah, like, obviously I don't want to be sexually harassed. Have I been sexually harassed? Yes, because I am a woman, and there's lots of men out there who are scumbags, and a lot of it's a cultural thing, you know, and a lot of these you know, Latino areas, in Mexican culture, you know, it's the chauvinistic kind of male, the macho male, that's, like, very much a part of their culture, you know, and it's not racist. But you go to these Mexican neighborhoods, and you'll be whistled at, you'll be yelled at, you'll be kissed. That's my, like, favorite one, you know. Actually, it's my least favorite, because, but I mean, I hate that one the most, because I feel like you just violated me. Don't make kissing faces at me, you know. But, you know, and I think about a job I had once where I feel like I was sexually harassed by one of the Mexican coworkers I had. And, yeah, I could have gone to the boss and filed getting him written up, or filed a restriction. But what would that have done for me? Would that have made me happier? You know how I dealt with it? I told him to fuck off, to leave me alone, to go away, and then I completely ignored him. And you know what? He actually apologized to me. He apologized to me a few days later, and then things were cool. I mean, imagine that situation if I had went to a position of authority, went to the higher ups, and been like, hey, this person's bothering me, I want you to remove him, do this. It's like, we don't need to appeal to authority. And again, this is the whole idea. The patriarchy is this sense of authority, which is running our lives. We don't need them. That is the ultimate women's liberation, is to realize we do not need men. We don't need them to pass laws for us. We don't need them to give us our reproductive rights. We don't need free birth control. We are women. We can work. We can make money for ourselves. We can pay for our own birth control. You know, like, that is the ultimate empowerment movement. And as long as we're stuck in this system of like, please government, make these laws, give us this, we want more equality, you know, it's like we'll always be oppressed as women. We are always going to be oppressed as long as we're appealing to the system of the oppressor. We cannot speak the language of the oppressor and expect to be free. We have to claim freedom. The best way, you know, to disengage is to disengage. The best way to overcome the patriarchy is to not participate in it. You know, don't just do what you want to do. Live your life. Claim your birthright as a human. Go spend time in nature. If you can't find it, if you think the government is really the one responsible for giving you rights, go hiking, you know, go camping, go spend time by a lake, connect with your source energy, with your higher energy, connect with that energy, and realize that all of your power comes from source energy, from that unmanifested space. It doesn't come to you from government. And as long as we're still in that mindset, we're still going to be trapped. So this message comes from a place of care for all my sisters, you know, all my female friends and family, and all my brothers too, you know, all the people of the human race. You know, it's not just a women's issue, it's a human issue. Obviously, this is what's being talked about right now, so that's what I'm talking about. But you know, this applies to everyone. We don't need to appeal for our rights. We just need to have them and take them and be them and embody them. You know, be the person you want to be. Be a strong woman. So that's all. Thanks for listening. If you like this video, please like it and share it. And if you want me to keep making videos, I will. Again, this is part of me finding my voice and being, again, you know, a strong woman, not being scared that people are going to, you know, be offended. That's something that women have been programmed for, you know, to be nice and to not offend people and this sort of thing. And it's like, but the truth is more important. So anyway, let me know if you want me to make more videos, and I hope you have a great day. And little Hoot says hi too. Oh.